Zucchini is an amazing crop that we can grow right here in Trinidad and in containers as well. So it doesn't really get much better than that. You can make it into so many things, put it into your chow mein, your stir fry, and even now the trend is to make noodles out of your zucchini. So let's talk all about how to grow it. 100% organic, super simple, easy, and affordable. Hello everyone, thank you all so much for joining in. This is Dylan from the Trini Gardener channel and I'm super excited to talk to you all about growing zucchinis. Zucchinis in general are a massive plant, but because I grew this one in a container, it has grown in proportion to how much root system it could develop. So that's one of the things that if you are growing zucchini, just know that you're not going to get the biggest plant if you grow in containers, but I'm thinking about the people who can't grow in ground, who don't have the space for a raised bed, and that's why this growing guide here is tailored for growing in containers. But if you have the ability, a lot of these things are easily applied to the raised bed and to growing in ground. One of the advantages that we have with growing in the container is that zucchinis are a very sun-loving plant, and with the container, you can move it around if necessary if you don't live in a space where you have direct access to sunlight all the time. Not everyone has a massive big yard. Some people live in apartments where they only get some sun, maybe on the front step or the back step. So you can move your zucchini plants as needed for to get sunlight. Like I can pick this up and no problem at all with the container once you're gentle with it, right? And as I said, it's a sun-loving crop. So you want to give it minimum 6 hours of sunlight. You can, if you give it less, it just won't grow as well. It's not that it's completely impossible. It might be a bit of an uphill battle, and we bet it's best to give your plants the best chance of surviving. So that will be with your 6, 7, 8 hours of sunlight. Now zucchinis, like a lot of crops in your garden, are going to really enjoy having nice, well-draining soil with enough water retention, and that's why we fill this container here with really nice, rich homemade compost, right? And if you don't have so much of compost, you can mix half compost with half garden soil or topsoil, right? That'll get more or less the same effect, but you want to make sure that you have a soil that won't hold on to too much of water, so nothing too clayey in composition, right? And you don't want something too sandy that will just drain out the water, because this is sort of like a big brother to cucumber, right? They're a bit more tough than cucumber, but it's the same family. They're all part of the cucurbit family, which means that they are very much basically water. They're probably like 80 to 90% pure water, and then the rest is whatever other organic material, but they really enjoy having water. But you don't want to have too much of water that's going to get stuck up near the roots, because that's going to create root rot, and you don't want that to happen with your zucchini plant. Now that will lead me to the next topic that is kind of related, which is that when you're watering your zucchini, you want to water from the base of the plant itself. You do not want to water at the very top where the leaves are going to get too wet, because zucchinis tend to be an easy victim of something known as powdery white mildew, which is a fungus that develops on the leaves themselves. And what that fungus likes to, or what it thrives in, is moist leaves. So keeping your leaves nice and dry is going to decrease your chances of getting powdery white mildew. Now, besides that, if you do want to do like a worm tea or a compost tea, and you want that to go onto the leaves themselves, then that can happen. But if you're doing that where it has to moisten the leaves, then do that around either the early morning, where you'll have the entire day for that to dry out, or do it like in the early afternoon as well, not in the direct heat of the day, but maybe around like 2 p.m. where you still get a few hours where those leaves could dry out. Another thing that you can do to avoid powdery white mildew on your zucchinis is to prune some of these leaves, to prune out a lot of this foliage. And I've left a lot of this old foliage on the zucchini here, so that you can see the kind of leaves that you could actually end up pruning out. Because when leaves get to a certain stage, when they're really old, or they've been attacked, or they get infested with something like even aphids, right? They aren't actually serving much for the plant. They're actually more for liability rather than an asset. So it's better to take out those leaves. You'll free up space, and that will allow for better airflow, which will allow for better drying off of the leaf and the stem, so that you avoid the chances of having powdery white mildew. Try saying that 10 times fast. In terms of the fertilizing of your zucchini, if you use a really good, nice, rich compost like I've shown you, then you don't really have to worry too much about the fertilizer. But you can, if you want to go an extra step, incorporate some worm castings or some animal manure that's well cured into your container, and that'll give you a nice boost of organic fertilizer that will be slow releasing and feed your zucchini over the course of its lifetime, right? Final thing to mention is that with zucchini, you do have to be patient sometimes because as with all cucurbits, they produce male and female flowers. And sometimes what happens is, especially when the plant is, juvenile, it will start to produce one or the other type of flowers, meaning you'll get either mainly male or only female. And the problem is if you don't get both of them at the same time, you can't get a pollination, and then the female flowers that has the little zucchini on it, they're going to shrivel up and die, right? Or the male flowers they'll bloom, but you won't get any zucchini from it. So you just have to be patient with that. You can manually pollinate, but the only time you can manually pollinate is if you know that you don't really have pollinators like bees or even like Jep around your place. Then you can do it, but you still need to have the male or the female. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people will grow multiple zucchinis near to each other. And if you are doing that, I would recommend a spacing of no less than 2 to 3 feet, because zucchini that's grown in ground, they get maybe 3 times bigger than what I have here in this container, right? So you can grow multiple zucchinis, and then if you have a plant with just male, one with just female, then at least the male will have enough pollen to allow for pollination of the female. And that's how simple it is to grow zucchini right at home, 100% organic in a container without having to use any kind of harsh chemicals. And you'll be able to enjoy fresh, homegrown zucchini. Nothing like those kind of shriveled up stuff that they sell in the supermarket. I really hope that you enjoyed this little growing guide, but more importantly, I hope that you learned something from this video. Remember, if you know someone who'd be interested in growing zucchini or any other kind of vegetable, please feel free to share this video or any of the other videos with them and help them to grow more food for themselves and their family. Remember as well, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and on Facebook, where we put pictures of our garden almost every single day on either one of those platforms. And feel free to tag us so that we can see the pictures and videos coming out of your garden. We're happy to see what you're getting up to. Remember, as always, this has been Dylan from the Trini Gardener channel, reminding you to get up and get green. Take care.